Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today for another deep dive.
Absolutely. It's always good to be here.
This one is particularly heavy. We're diving into the Liam Payne case, the passing of a member of One Direction.
Yeah, a story that just shook, I think, everyone in the music world.
Yeah, it's, those initial reports, just a tragic accident, falling from a hotel balcony in Buenos Aires.
Yeah, 31 years old, just so young and so much potential.
Right. And of course, our hearts go out to his family and friends and bandmates and all the fans worldwide.
Absolutely, a real tragedy.
But then, things took a turn as we started to learn more, and those charges came out against three individuals down in Argentina.
Yeah, that's what makes this story so complex, right? It's not just a straightforward accident. There are these legal implications, these criminal charges.
Yeah, one of the charges, abandonment followed by death. Just chills, honestly.
Right, and it's a rare charge too in Argentine law. Prosecutors really have to build a strong case to prove that link between the accused's inaction and the death.
So what exactly do we know about the person who was with Payne, and what was their responsibility to him?
Right, that's the big question. The duty of care. Did this person fail to provide necessary assistance when they were in a position to help?
And to add another layer to this, we can't ignore the toxicology report.
Right, that's a crucial piece of the puzzle. It revealed alcohol, cocaine, and a prescription antidepressant in his system.
Wow, that's a serious mix, especially with the antidepressant in there.
Exactly. The interaction of those substances could have had some severe, unpredictable effects on his physical and mental state.
It makes you wonder about his state of mind that night and whether it contributed to the fall.
It's definitely a possibility investigators are looking into whether impaired judgment played a role.
It's hard not to think about some of his past interviews, too, talking about his struggles with anxiety and pressure.
Yeah, that's the thing about fame and celebrity. It often masks these deeper personal struggles.
So we've got this potentially dangerous mix of drugs.
Hmm.
We've got these serious charges being filed, and it feels like we're trying to piece together this very complicated puzzle.
Right, and those other two individuals facing charges, a hotel employee and an alleged drug dealer, that adds a whole other level of complexity.
Right. Were they aware of his prescription? Did they know the potential dangers of mixing these substances?
Yeah, those are big questions, and they really raise issues of responsibility and potential recklessness.
And as if things weren't complicated enough, the Argentinian authorities have been very busy.
Yeah, 9 locations rated in Buenos Aires. They're analyzing his laptop, piecing together those final days.
It's a massive undertaking, and it really seems like they're determined to get to the bottom of this.
Absolutely leaving no stone unturned. And there's another twist to this story, the medical records.
Yeah, what about those?
They suggest that Payne may have been semi-conscious or even completely unconscious when he fell.
Hold on, so if he wasn't conscious, how did he go over the balcony?
That's the million-dollar question right now. It's possible he could have accidentally fallen while unconscious, but foul play hasn't been ruled out either.
And this is where those abandonment charges become even more important, right?
Absolutely. If he was incapacitated, did the person with him have a legal and moral obligation to keep him safe?
Wow, we've covered so much ground already. A tragic death, a mix of drugs, multiple individuals facing serious charges.
It's a lot to process, and we're just scratching the surface.
Okay, before we move on, is there anything else that's really standing out to you from everything we've uncovered?
One detail that keeps nagging at me. Did the individuals who supplied the drugs know about his antidepressant prescription?
Oh, that's a huge question.
Right. That piece of information could really impact the case.
If they knew about his medication and still supplied him with cocaine, that raises a whole other level of responsibility.
Yeah, it speaks to the broader issue of drug suppliers' responsibility, even when someone willingly chooses to use drugs.
This is already so much to unpack, and we're just getting started, listener. This story is far from over. We'll be right back with more.
We'll be here ready to dive deeper as this case continues to unfold. It really highlights the dangers that come with substance abuse.
And this isn't just a story that's impacting the music industry. I think it's hitting home for so many people.
Absolutely. Whether they're fans of One Direction or they've witnessed the struggles of addiction firsthand.
It's a reminder that behind all the fame and fortune, Liam Payne was a human being, dealing with real-life challenges just like everyone else.
And those struggles with addiction that he talked about in interviews, so many people can relate to that either personally or through loved ones.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking to see someone so young and talented succumb to these demons.
It definitely underscores the importance of seeking help when you're dealing with substance abuse.
And for those who are supporting someone battling addiction, it's a wake-up call, too, about the dangers of enabling.
Right. Those charges against the individuals who allegedly supplied drugs to Payne, They emphasize that enabling can have serious consequences, legal and ethical.
Sometimes the hardest thing, but the most important thing is to set boundaries
Yeah.
and, not be complicit in that destructive behavior.
Tough love, right?
Yeah, exactly. Tough love. It's hard, but sometimes it's the only way to break the cycle.
We need to talk about it more openly and honestly, both within families and as a society.
We've been focusing on the legalities and the toxicology reports, but I keep thinking about the human side of this, you know,
The emotional toll this is taking on his family, his friends, his bandmates.
and all the fans worldwide who are grieving right now.
It's okay to feel overwhelmed by all of it, the sadness, the anger, the confusion. And if you're out there listening and you're finding it hard to process this news, don't hesitate to reach out for support.
There are resources available to help you cope with this kind of loss.
Definitely take care of yourselves out there.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot, but there's one element we haven't really touched on yet, and that's the media's role in all of this.
Ah, yes. The media coverage has been quite extensive and at times, a bit controversial.
Yeah, from those initial reports to the revelations about his struggles with addiction, the media is playing a big role in shaping public perception.
And with a story like this, it's really important to be mindful of sensationalism and bias.
We can't just passively absorb everything we read, and here we have to be critical consumers of information.
Exactly. And remember that not everything that's reported is accurate or presented with the full context.
And most importantly, we have to remember that Payne's family and loved ones are grieving right now. Their privacy and sensitivity deserve respect as this investigation unfolds.
It's not just a headline, it's a deeply personal tragedy for so many people.
As we continue to follow this story, it's crucial to approach it with empathy and understanding.
Absolutely. There are lives affected beyond the spotlight.
This has been a sobering reminder of the fragility of life, and it's really highlighted the need for open conversations about mental health and addiction.
This story is far from over, and we'll continue to unpack the developments as they emerge.
We'll be here to provide insights and analysis as the investigation progresses. But for now, listener, we want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on this complex and tragic case? It's easy to get caught up in all the headlines and the speculation, but we can't forget that this is a real human tragedy.
Absolutely. And I think it's important to remember that, Liam Payne, he was more than just a famous face. He was a son, a friend, a talented musician who touched so many lives.
And his life was cut way too short. That loss, it's deeply felt by everyone who knew him and loved him.
And while the circumstances surrounding his death are, complex and troubling, it's really crucial to approach this conversation with sensitivity and respect for his memory.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to get fixated on the legal stuff and the investigation,
Yeah.
but we can't lose sight of the human cost of all of this.
As we wait for the outcome of the legal process, I think this is a time for reflection.
Reflection on the dangers of substance abuse, the importance of mental health,
Absolutely.
and, the responsibility we all have to look out for one another.
It's a reminder that even those who seem to have it all can be struggling with things we don't see.
And that seeking help isn't a weakness, it's a sign of strength.
It's also a time to think about how we can create a society that supports people who are struggling with addiction.
Whether it's advocating for better mental health resources, challenging the stigma around substance abuse, or just offering support to someone who needs it.
Every little bit helps.
This deep dive has been quite a journey, listener. We've explored the facts, we've analyzed the evidence, and we've grappled with the complexities of this case.
And as we wrap up, it feels like we have more questions than answers.
But one thing is for sure, Liam Payne's legacy, it's going to live on through his music and through the important conversations that his passing has started.
As we move forward, let's remember the lessons we've learned. Let's be kinder, more compassionate, and more supportive.
Because at the end of the day, it's our shared humanity that connects us all. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We'll continue to follow this story, but for now we encourage you to reflect on what you've learned and think about how you can make a positive impact in your own life and in your community.